Hey, welcome. This is Isaac Seaver, Superintendent of Lebanon City Schools. We're doing our latest episode of the Onward Lebanon podcast. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Susan Herrmann, teacher at Donovan Elementary School. Susan, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Mr. Severs. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're continuing in a series about behavioral leadership. It's a strategy in teacher work that we're doing around how do we encourage positive behaviors and try to fight the urge to constantly be correcting negative behaviors. And so what we want to do in these podcasts is really just look at what are some of the strategies that we are implementing in our classrooms and maybe encourage and find some ways that parents can use those at home. And so, Susan, thanks for joining us today. What is your role in behavioral leadership in the building?
Yes, so there are three coaches at Donovan Elementary, and I am one of the coaches. So I've been with it since the very, very beginning. We did a book study. Scott Irvin writes a book called The Classroom Behavior Manual. We started with that and then just started implementing it into our classrooms. And I tell you, it's been great. I'm not going to lie. When I first, heard about Scott and all of his strategies, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, it's one more thing, right? But I started small, like what you just said, like the strategic noticings. And what I noticed was an incredible difference. And I thought, wow, I'm on board.
Yeah. I listened to some of the things I've listened to him speak. I've listened to some of the things and the Jed that comes in and does coaching and kind of looking at it across the district from their company. And I think, man, this is really simple, right? There's not a whole lot of crazy ideas. They seem super simple and easy to remember, but not
Mm-hmm.
easy to implement, right? Like, have you found with strategic noticing, did you have to learn that behavior, right? Is it something that has come naturally, or is it, I have to remember to do this and now it's becoming more natural?
Right, right. Well, a little of both, right? When I first heard about it, I'm like, can it be this simple, right? That I can walk into my room and say, I noticed this or I noticed that. And it did take me a while to build up a habit. So I put signs in my room, right? I thought I'm going to start small. I'm going to start with I noticed and choices that we can give students.
Yeah.
So I put the words choice and notice up in my room so I could look
Hmm.
up and as a reminder, because it is a habit.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't think about that. Like, I've been in classrooms a lot in the last year, and this is the most noticeable, right, of the strategies because there's a one-word trigger, right, that I notice, and then I'm thinking, oh, what is it? What did they notice? And it's simple. So let's just start by, from your understanding, what is strategic noticing and what is it not? In terms of what can you do with it? What should we not do according to Scott Irvin in his work?
Right. Well, it helps build relationships, right? And I think we're all about here at Lebanon building those positive relationships. And I think for most of our kids, the way that we used to teach, telling kids you shouldn't be doing this, don't do that. It doesn't matter to most kids, but then there are a few that negativity is hard on the mind, and they don't want to be told negative things, nor do they want to be told positive things. So the strategic noticing is just neutral. It's nothing really great that you're doing, and it's nothing really bad that you're doing. It's how you want your classroom run. So as an example, I keep water bottles on the back table. Now they're welcome to get up and get a drink at any time, but sometimes they forget, right, to put their water bottles away. So if I walk in the room, all I have to say is, hey, I noticed Charlotte's water bottles on the back counter. And then all of a sudden you've got like the two kids that didn't do it looking around like, oh, my water bottle, and
Yeah.
they put it on the back counter. And they are so used to it now. I'm excited to see the younger grades using it. And as the kids come up to fourth grade, I think it's just going to be an easy transition for them.
Have you noticed that along those lines, Donovan was the first to bring this to the district. The work started 2019 there. as the students are coming into the building now, third grade, all the way down to kindergarten, are using this, what
Mhm.
are some of the changes that you've seen, or how effective behavioral leadership has been in terms of the classroom culture that you have?
I feel like the classroom culture is calmer. I feel like kids knowing what to expect and that we're all using the same strategies, we're all using the same language. They're not as anxious. I feel like if you look around at the classroom as a whole, there's like a calmness. And my teacher's not going to, yell at me if I have this out, or they're not going to yell at me or embarrass me in front of the class. There's this calmness that they know that I'm going to come in as a neutral, positive, building relationship kind of atmosphere. And I think they appreciate that. I do.
One of the things, and obviously the word notice, right, is in this situation, you're seeing something, you're observing it. But I think that like instinct of what human nature is kids want to be seen. We all want to be seen, right? We
Yes.
all want to be seen. We all want to be heard and understood. And so noticing, the example with the water bottles, I'm
Hmm.
assuming the two kids, like your story, that those two kids didn't leave them on their desk on purpose to be intentionally disobedient. It
Right.
was,
Right.
I got busy doing something else. Um, but also for Charlotte, I think is the name that you mentioned there. Like for Charlotte, it's like, I did do the right thing today, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have to say it was the right thing. And Charlotte's great because she follows the rules. But intrinsically, like
Mhm.
internally, like she says that, is like, oh, that was my name, right? Like that was
Right.
me. That was my name. I did the right thing. So, but not placing value to that, right? It wasn't like, congratulations, Charlotte, you're so great. I noticed you put your water bottle on the table. So, I think one of the things that I really feel great about in terms of the strategies is we're trying to meet kids where they are,
Mhm.
notice them. I see you, right? I
I see.
understand you,
Hmm.
those sort of things. Okay, so my next question for you here is like, how often should you be noticing, and are there better times for that, like that you notice the impact of it being better?
Yes, I try to notice all the time, but there's certain times during the day that I'm really like bombarding the students with noticings. And some of those times, first thing in the morning, after recess, after lunch. So those transition times when students are trying to get, calm and back on schedule, after we've been up and moving around, I will do a lot more noticings at that time.
Yeah, they say. I mean, what is there a number or something that the research shows, like how often you should be noticing? I mean, is this something that's happening like one
Yeah,
time
like
every
every
couple of
90
minutes?
seconds. Every
Every
90
90 seconds. That's a
seconds.
lot, right? You think about 90 seconds. Every 90 seconds, I notice for somebody in the room.
So
That's
I used a stop, not a stopwatch, but a count, like a counter when I
yeah.
first started doing this, to see how many times, I did it within a minute, or I did it within the 90 seconds, how many noticings I was getting.
Wow. That seems like a lot. Like that
It
seems.
does, but you'd be amazed at how then it just becomes natural.
I guess for me, right? I have a parent. I'm a
Mhm.
parent of three kids, and I see some of these strategies. And I think, how could that work at my house, right?
Yeah.
I've tried some of them, and they look at me kind of funny, and then they realize, like, I noticed Owen took his trash to the trash can after the meal. The other two will look at me weird, but but they also will get up and take their trash to the trash can without me arguing with them. So, just thinking through the parenting side of this, and what we want to try to do is, put some tools in the hands of parents. So, how can strategic noticing be used at the house? What are some keys that you would think parents need to understand and learn for this to be effective in the homes?
I think for me as a parent too, I've taken some of this classroom behavior leadership into my home, but I think the word notice, when I use it with my two, I think the word notice doesn't work as well at home. So
Yeah.
I've started just using the word thanks. Like, thanks for taking your dishes to the sink. Hey, thanks for cleaning the bathroom, sink, or thanks for turning the TV off before you left. Because I think as a parent, at least for me, I'm not talking about other parents, I can be negative, because I just want them to do the right thing, right? Have you done your reading homework? Have you put your clothes up? Do you have your laundry done? Is your car full of gas? Why isn't your cell phone charged? So I feel like that's negative, right? And they're just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, geez, on me all the time. But I've switched the word notice with my parenting to thanks. And I do try to notice all of those things that they are doing right. It's that positive versus negative, right? And I think that they do see it. They appreciate me saying the thanks. I don't really do, like I said, the I notice.
Yeah.
But, thanks for cleaning up the kitchen the other night because I had to go. That they know that I see it and there's some positive things in there.
Yeah. Scott would say in his training, like, don't add value, don't say thank you, all those things. And I think in a school
Right.
setting, that's different than
Right.
the parent and child role there. I had a fun story. I was the junior high is just adding this year, and they went through training at the beginning of the school year. And I sat in the back of it a little bit, and one of the staff members that I know personally saw me on the weekend after that training, and they said, "This is really good stuff. I really like it. I tried it out on my kids this weekend, and I noticed. I told my daughter I noticed that she did something, and her first response was, "Oh, you sound like my teachers." But the other two kids in the house, right, heard it. It was a reminder of those expectations without the negative power struggle that
Yes.
happens.
Yes.
And I think as my kids are older now at 12, 14, and 16, right, some of those negative power struggle things happen as they're getting more independence. This staff member, you know, they were excited because they immediately made the connection at home. But the second part of that was he also saw the connection of when children are hearing this at school and also hearing it at home, there's a connection that's being made to them, right?
I agree. Yeah.
And I think that is that consistency in both of those environments, and so if there's a power struggle that's happening in the house, or I've told you so many times to charge your Chromebook, right?
Right.
Hey, I noticed that your Chromebook is ready to go, and thanks for doing that without me asking,
Right. Right.
and I think those things are powerful in that way. You started small, you
I
started
did.
with
Hmm.
noticing, and you started with choices. As you've progressed over the last 4 or 5 years with this,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, you talk about the culture in your building, but what are some of the other things that you've gotten into now that you realize like this is really helpful and maybe set the stage for some future conversations with us and these conversations of I've seen the most impact out of this strategy or that strategy.
I like choice a lot. I think, you know, kids want to have some power, in their learning, and I think we want that, right? We want some students that can think for themselves independently. So giving them choice has really helped in my classroom a lot. And I think the key to choice is if I don't care how it's done, then give them some power with that, right? If I want them to do some writing, um, they can choose. Do you want to put this in your reader's notebook or you can put this in your writer's notebook? They're like, wow,
Hmm.
we can do either one, right?
Yeah.
You can use a pencil or you can use a colored pencil. They're like, whoa, a colored pencil if we want, sure, right? If
Yeah.
you're putting things away, you can put this on the left corner or the right corner of your desk. It can be small, but just giving them the power to make that choice within the classroom, that's done a lot for
Yeah.
me and my classroom. And also, the questioning, like, where should you be? Where should this be? What should you be doing? What do we do next? Right? Because you mentioned it earlier. Sometimes students don't do things on purpose. They forget they've got a lot on their minds, right? With like the water bottle. She didn't put it on the back counter. She had a lot on her mind. She wasn't doing it just to be,
Yeah. Defiance,
trouble.
right? It's not. Yeah, it's
Right,
not.
right,
They're not
exactly.
trying to be disobedient. It's just one of those things that was forgotten in the process.
Right.
Yeah.
So this questioning kind of helps them, oh, where should I be, right? And
Yeah.
not in such a negative way. Like, we're on page 4, you should be there.
Yeah.
Instead you say, hey, what page should we be on? Oh,
Yeah.
page 4. So
Awesome.
I think I'm calm, the classroom seems calm, and I think it's giving kids some power, and they deserve that as well.
Yeah, that's great. I love the idea of this program, and I'm super excited when I see it in action because it seems so simple. It's having huge impacts in our building,
Yes.
and I think it's really given teachers some strategies to deal with things quickly so they can get back to teaching, right? And we
Right.
don't have the escalating of behaviors or the arguments that are happening. And so I'm super excited about the work that's happening in our district in this area. I want to thank you for coming on today. Thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing some of your experiences with strategic noticing with us, and also, we're going to be talking next about choices in our next
Yeah.
follow-up podcast. And so you led us in nicely to the next one.
All
Um,
right.
if,
Segue.
if choices seem like something you want to be working on at your house as well, parents, find the
Yes.
next podcast episode when it comes out. We're hoping to be partners with parents and educating their kids at school, but also supporting you at home. So thank you, Susan, so much for being here today with us. I
Thanks for
appreciate your
having me.
time. Okay, great. Have a great afternoon or morning whenever you're listening to this podcast. And onward, Lebanon.